Coming up today on the show, there's a mass exodus at Wizards of the Coast, and we have breaking news in that respect. Also, new D&D book, a dungeon design contest that may not be what it seems, and our main roundtable discussion is about using levity in D&D. All that, plus the newest news in tabletop games. Let's go.
Are you ready to get casual? Grab your favorite adult beverage or combustible plant and join us for our roundtable TTRPG discussion. Oh yeah, it's time for Casual Friday. And now, here are your hosts.
What's up? This is Casual Friday, where we talk about all the newest news in the tabletop role-playing game industry. I'm Jim, that's Brad, that's Ryan. Let's go. The first thing that we are going to talk about today is there is a mass exodus going on at Wizards of the Coast. Just a few days ago, Chris Cow, who was in charge of, I don't remember exactly what his title was, but he was above Magic and Dungeons and Dragons, left. I know a lot of people who are celebrating this. I don't particularly know a whole lot about the guy. Do you guys have thoughts on Chris Cow leaving?
I know people cheered it for reasons that I won't repeat because I don't know them personally, but apparently a lot of people have been looking forward to him leaving.
The Magic the Gathering community has this like love-hate relationship. Like they like love the game but hate the company, and like I think it's more intense than the way people feel about D&D, because like the folks who hate D&D just leave and go play Shadow Dark or Dungeon Crawl Classics or whatever. The people who hate Magic still play Magic, and it's like this. It's like this. There's like this intense thing in the Magic community. It's wild.
Huh. Well, and then, last week on the show, we talked about Chris Perkins putting in his 2 weeks notice. Well, also, Jeremy Crawford today, or probably late last night, tweeted or something, but it got escalated to Screen Rant. Jeremy Crawford is also leaving in just a few weeks. Perkins is already gone. Crawford is staying for a few more weeks. So everybody's leaving. And then also somebody named Greg Billsland is coming to be the executive producer for Dungeons & Dragons, which is not a role that I knew existed. I don't think anybody had that role before. So I don't know exactly what that means. But Ted from Nerd Immersion did a video about Greg. Ted was very pleased with it because he said there's video evidence of Greg Billsland running and playing Dungeons & Dragons, as opposed to, wasn't that Chris Cow the one who said that I play regularly with 35 to 40 people?
Oh, no, that was the other guy.
Was that Kyle Brink?
Yes. No, yeah. Was it Kyle?
No, it's Cox.
Yes, thank you. It was another Chris. Yeah. An additional Chris.
They had to purge all the Chris's from Wizards. Well, so what do you guys think about this? JC and CP, you're both out.
It's the end of an era. Like these guys have been doing Dungeons and Dragons for a long time. We talked about this when Chris announced he was leaving. But Jeremy's been an integral part of the game design of Dungeons and Dragons for a long time now. Started on Twitter and it became like a blog. His
advice,
right? He was the guru. He was the guy that you could fall back on to prove your DM wrong.
Yeah, was that the unofficial, official fourth core rulebook, Jeremy Crawford's Twitter?
Yeah.
I will not miss that. Inadmissible at any table you may play with me at. If I'm running the game, don't quote Crawford Twitter at me, please. But I mean, you got to acknowledge like titans of the industry. Like we are talking about D&D today because these guys have been kicking ass for decades. So you got to give credit where credit's due. We can nitpick some of their rulings or lack thereof that they publicly broadcast on the internet for millions of people to argue over. But what a legacy. It does feel like a good time to like cement that. They came out with these new rule books, which are kind of a revision codification of the old rule books. If we're going to be honest with each other, this is not a huge deviation from what they were doing. They just kind of perfected it, laid the groundwork, supposedly, if you believe the hype, for the next batch of creators, and yeah, are going to sail off into the sunset. Well earned.
Yeah, I mean Jeremy, Chris, and Mike. I mean they are fifth edition, right? Like the three of them is what they built fifth edition, and now Jeremy and Chris built 5.5, and for better or worse, like this is their legacy. But I think there's also, and I think Jim, you were talking about this before we, earlier today before we were on camera. Like, this is kind of perfect, right? They leave right as everything launches. They're done. They've accomplished this mammoth feat of releasing the new edition, and they can either just ride off into the sunset, or if 5.5 turns out to be as great, I don't think it's going to be, but as great as fifth edition was, right? Then they leave a strong legacy, right?
And I think also this helps retroactively explain some of the behavior we saw in the 2024 core rulebook videos that were coming out week after week. And one, in that the two other people who were featured most regularly, James Wyatt and Wes, the guy I can't remember, Wes Craven, the little guy. Wes Craven's an author, but I don't know what his name is. But the article says, I'm pretty sure it's this article, says that they're not being named as anything, but they'll have a bigger seat at the table. Something about that. Yeah, it's in there somewhere. Anyway, that's not important. Yeah, it's the perfect time to leave. We don't know, one of two things is going to happen. Things will stay the same, or else they'll get different. That's pretty much yeah. You can quote me. You can put quotes around that and a dash of my name at the bottom if you want. But here's one thing we know about WotC is that sooner or later you're gonna step on a rake. And we don't see any direct evidence of that happening here, but there could have been some rake stepping in there somewhere. Do you have any tinfoil hat theories about their exits? I've heard some people say that there's some kind of thing about an over 55 early retirement thing going on there.
I found that wrapped in tinfoil. I believe it. I guess it is interesting that they're not replacing these guys, because that would mean promoting and paying those people more money. Maybe this is tinfoil hat. The official word from on high is that there's a 5-year plan in place. These guys may be leaving, but they have left the company in a position where for the next 5 years they know exactly what they're doing, and their stewardship will continue, even though they won't be collecting a paycheck anymore. And my tinfoil hat is like, even if that is true, there's no way 5 years from now they're still following the same plan. They couldn't even get Sigil to launch before they changed course. So we'll see what the next 5 years brings, but it might be a 6th edition.
Right. I could just imagine there's a conference room somewhere where they had giant Post-it notes, like I was showing last week, where they've got the 5-year plan and it's like Post-it notes all the way around the room, and Crawford and Perkins are going around. And then there's a space where there's like 12 feet with no Post-it notes, and they're like, oh, that's where Sigil used to be. We're just going to go to the next wall. Yeah. Don't pay no attention to that wall.
Yeah, I think the early retirement thing makes a lot of sense. I think that's probably the most reasonable explanation, because I mean, we've seen Wizards lay off a whole bunch of people. We know they're probably going to make a plan to cut spending with potential tariffs coming up, right? So, it makes sense that they would offer the highest paid people a way out the door, because you can't lay off Jeremy Crawford and Chris Perkins, right? So, but you can offer them early retirement and give them a nice severance package, and a little celebration on the way out. Saves them money in the long run. I mean, that makes the most sense. But come on, I mean, like, if we're really going to put on the tinfoil hat, like, like, let's put on our shouty show voices and like really speculate. Like, these guys are so pissed off. I mean, Mike Merle's got canceled, and Jeremy and Chris are fed up with Hasbro's interference, and they're they send in the cake with a big "FU" on it. We're out of here, right? There's some drama there. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know.
We might be witnessing them sidestepping a rake because, like, someone was like, "We got to fire these guys." I would imagine they are earning the most money right now in that
Probably.
in the design side, and they finally decided not to just lay them off and create easily avoidable controversy this time, and bought them out, which
Yeah.
good for them, I guess.
So
we'll see.
we need to move on because we have an action-packed show today, especially because we need to make sure that we end on time, because coming up in 80 minutes, we're going to be debuting Casual Friday Theater right here on the Landlocked Warlocks channel. If you go to our channel, go to the live videos, I think, you can see what's upcoming. Casual Friday Theater, where the three of us are going to Mystery Science Theater style watch about 40, 50 minutes of classic D&D material, commercials, new segments, yada, yada, other stuff. And we're going to riff on it. And we'd love to see you there in chat riffing on it too. So moving on to our next segment, in a new segment on the show that I am calling, I seriously cannot believe no one has thought of this yet. I introduced to you Wizard Tag. And I feel like I don't really need to explain the product because it tells you everything you need to know, laser tag and a magic wand. And why has no one done this before? This is crazy. I saw this on an Instagram ad the other day and I became obsessed. I signed up for it, of course. I want to get these and play this with my kid, of course. Because let's see, you can buy one. They also have arena kits that come with packages for the idea to sell to laser tag centers or sell to like LARP groups. This could be a big LARP thing, right? And is it there's some really, so the way it works, you there doesn't have any buttons on it. You swing the wand in different ways to cast different spells. And then you've got your mana on one side, your health on the other. So it's like full-on laser tag completely built into the wand. And somewhere on this website I watched the other day, there was some, they've got a bunch of videos of all these like nerds LARPing in the park with these wands. I just think this looks awesome. What do you guys think? I'm excited for this.
Oh, I would have eaten this up as a kid. I'd be 100%. This would have been like, I would have been all over this when I was like, 12, 10, like 100% would have loved it. So, yeah. I'm going to wait till you eat yours and then know that it actually works, and then I'll order some for me and my kids.
Yeah, this is incredible. I'm surprised that it is just showing people LARPing. I guess you can't advertise to children and adults at the same time. And adults are the ones with the money. But I don't know, man. Yeah. If there was like Wizard Night at the laser tag place, I might go. I'm a grown ass man. I might go play laser tag with a magic wand. Let's do it. Or if my buddy had one and we could just like run into the forest. Yes, please.
Do you think this could have an impact on LARPing? I know so little about LARP.
I have no idea. My first thought when you said LARPing though is like, this group of folks, like wizardy folks with their expensive little wands, and then some bonehead with a foam sword comes charging in and like knocks the expensive wand out of the wizard's hands and sends it flying across the forest. And then the whole game has to stop because, Greg, what'd you do?
Greg, that wand's like $80.
Come on, man.
I'm a fighter. I'm supposed to fight.
Just a duct tape Nerf bat. Jim, do me a favor. Keep scrolling down because I thought I saw spells on this page, and I'm quite curious. Keep going. Keep going.
Yeah.
Fireball,
Ice Spike,
shield.
Gust
Oh,
of Wind,
defense.
Lightning Bolt. Oh wait, what is happening here?
I
Shield. Caster gains
can play
100
D.
temporary HP. This looks cool, right?
It looks cool.
Yeah.
I'm game. I'm in. She's
I'm
having a
like
good time.
confused. Look at that. She's having so much fun. All right. Okay. We need to keep
Did I look
moving
happy
on.
or tough? Both? Neither?
So anyway, that's called Wizard Tag. If you're interested in that, if you buy one, I'll play with you because I want to get a Wizard Tag wand. All right, so moving on. The next thing that we need to talk about is that Wizards of the Coast gave us some more details on their dragon book that's coming out this summer. Dungeon Delves. So they showed some artwork. Let's see if we can go to the pre-order page. Nope, can't. Oh yeah, we can. $60, man. That's digital
Just
and
wait.
physical? How much?
It's
I
going to
know,
seem like
right?
a real good deal pretty soon.
Oh, okay. So digital is
Oh, the
29.
bundle.
Yeah, the bundle's 69.
Nice.
So, oops, that's not where we were. So, one of the things that we've learned about this is that a few of the adventures in this book, it's like an anthology, levels 1 through I think 11 or 12, and 3 of the adventures are tagged or described in the adventure some way as being suitable for solo play, and meaning one player and one DM. And it's where is it? Okay. James Wyatt said the guidelines for running it say like supernatural gift, like the boon of the lone hero or something like that. Temporary hit points, solo player inspiration. I made a video about this like a year ago about how to rebalance adventures for, like how to run a first level PC through a 5th level adventure. And so this seems like this is all they're doing is just giving out some little buffs, but I do like that they're kind of experimenting with the format a little bit. And this is good for dungeon masters to think, especially newer dungeon masters, to think about scaling. What do you guys think about dragon delves?
I like that idea, like teaching DMs the math and how to scale your games. I mean, essentially, it's like first level characters should get a +5 to their D20s, right? And it just goes up from there. So you can just adjust things once you understand that simple math, and it's because essentially you want characters to hit more than 50% of the time, right? So D20 +5. And like understanding that math, I think can help game masters be able to run what they want when they want to run it, right? You don't have to wait to run this adventure until your players hit 8th level. You don't have to, wait until you're done with this campaign because this dungeon is only 3rd level, right? Just plug and play the adventures you want and, tune the difficulty to what you need. It'd be fantastic if there was actually like solid guidelines on how to do that.
Yeah, I would quibble with the idea that that's like a solo game is 2 people. I guess duet is not as appealing or whatever. But I saw solo play. I was like, oh, interesting. Is there like an oracle in here? Or like, to me, solo play is 1 person, not 2 people. But hey, what do I know? I like them doing new stuff. I mean, not that it's new, but I like them trying things. I like seeing new ideas come out because even if they are not good, I don't need to take them. But there's a chance they are good and I could use them. And sometimes a not good idea will actually teach you more than a good one. Because it's like, okay, I hate this. Why do I hate this? How do I make a better version of it? It's much more instructive sometimes. Not that I'm rooting for this to be bad. I'm actually super hopeful that this is a good book. I want a good book. I like good books. I'm sorry. Call me a fanboy. Call me a shill. I want Wizards of the Coast to make good shit so that I can enjoy it. And a bunch of dragon adventures that you can drag and drop written by a bunch of different people. Like the anthologies are usually the best pieces to come out of the house. So I'm looking forward to this one. I really am.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, just imagine like a magical, fantastic world where Wizards doesn't step on rakes and actually puts out fresh ideas. Like, man, what would we do with ourselves?
Yeah, so far I feel like Wizards hits with most of their anthology books.
Hmm.
Because in a longer adventure, a bad section can ruin the whole thing. See Vecna, Eve of Ruin. But with the anthology stuff, they're not all going to be golden, right? But you can ignore the ones you don't like. I really like that Keys from the Golden Vault adventure. There's like 12, 13 in there. I've stolen half those, mostly just for the maps.
Yeah.
Keys from the Golden Vault's great because you get a map and then you also get a player map, like a hand-drawn thing as like a handout that you can, they do their research or bribe a guard or whatever. And every one of those adventures has that, which I liked a lot. So, sorry, Twin Steel. Sorry about that. So moving on. There is a whoops, nope. Sorry about that. Spoiler reveal.
I want you to go back to the girl with the wand every time we transition. I really do.
I'll make you transition so she flashes across the screen real quick, like a wipe.
Yes.
Girl with wand wipe.
Every show we need her.
Anyway, so there is something called the World's Largest Dungeon that is published by Portals to Adventure, and they are launching a secret doors contest where they're asking you to submit a mini dungeon, little adventure and encounter, up to 4,700 words, a map, an image, and a video, and it must be for D&D, and you have to be a not full-time creator. But the reason why I wanted to talk about this on the show is this particular line of text down here. This is one of those contests where all submissions, even those which don't win anything, become the property of the publisher, and they retain the right to use or monetize submissions with no payment to the author. I bring this up because I am an author, and I have submitted to contests, for writing contests and short story magazine submissions and those kinds of things before. And this used to be commonplace in the indie author industry. But we have successfully run all these people out of town because this is a horribly unethical thing to do. And I implore you, do not submit to this contest. Because here's what this means. This means you submit it to them. If they don't publish it, you can't put it on the DMs Guild. You can't put it on drive-thru. You can't give it away for free on your effing website. You can't publish it anywhere where somebody could get it because they own it. They may not ever do anything with it, or they may put it in an anthology of Nazi positive adventures, and there's nothing you could do about it. There's nothing you could do about that. You could try to sue them, but you're going to lose because you waived your rights when you submitted to them. So please, please, please read the fine print before you ever submit your work to anyone for any reason. Because the fine print is where they screw you. I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't submit to a project like that. I'd rather give my stuff away for free on, my website or, through our channels or that sort of thing. I wouldn't want, I wouldn't want it like just disappear and never see again.
So, full disclosure, I am a DMs Guild creator. I don't know, not that they've ever acknowledged me with the title or whatever, but I have stuff on the DMs Guild, and it's a similar deal that you make. That's theirs now, essentially. Like, that only lives there. I cannot release it for free in a email. It is no longer mine. It is ours. And there, I get to use. I haven't done it in a while, but I get to use some IP that I wouldn't otherwise. Wizards of the Coast opens the door for you to go write about the Forgotten Realms and use proper nouns and all the stuff that's not in the OGL and split things with you. And theoretically, Dungeon Masters Guild is bringing more eyes to your work than some dungeon contest I've never heard of before. So if there's a right time to do something like this, it's pretty rare. And you're in bed with someone who, as to Jim's point, might change, right? Everyone just left Wizards of the Coast. It's going to be a new team. I'm hoping for the best, but like, I don't know. I haven't submitted to DM's Guild in a while. Let's put it that way.
But at least
know what you're getting into.
Yeah, at least your DM's Guild content still has your name on it, and you're still making money off of it. And you got something out of the deal, and a little bit of advertising and art assets that you could use, and like you said, proper names that you could use. So you're able to put the Hand of Vecna in your adventure or whatever. But this is just, once you send it, it's gone.
It's crazy. Imagine if I wrote a novel and then sent it into a publisher and they were like, nope, we're not going to publish it. But then I'd have to write a new novel because that one's gone. They own it now. Like that last 6 months I spent writing that book, it's just gone because they didn't want it.
Sorry you lost, but it's in our new Kickstarter coming in May.
And they're probably not going to put this in a Nazi positive book. That was definitely, I was being hyperbolic, but they could sell it to some company to train AI and you don't have any say in that. That's a lot more likely outcome. Every data is getting sold to train AI now. That's the new thing. I mean,
I'm not sure you can stop that. Unfortunately, most of them are not getting bought, but stolen, vacuumed up. Hey, so I don't know. Yes, try to avoid that too, but don't lose sleep.
Yeah, I do have a friend of mine who got a publishing deal because he entered a contest. Right, he put a short story in a contest. He won the contest, and then eventually he turned that short story into a book, and now he's written several books. And so that whole thing turned out really well for him. But like Jim's saying, read the fine print, because you don't know. You want to know what you're doing before you get, you submit your stuff.
Yeah, and in fiction, with short fiction, there's usually stuff like the rights reversals written in, like they have the first right of first publishing, and then it reverts back to you, and you can publish it somewhere else. But that old style of you send it and then it's just gone and it's somebody else's intellectual property is not okay. Not okay. Don't give up your work. Don't work for free, and don't let people take your work based on the promise that they might do something good for your career. Don't ever believe that. Anyway, moving on. Hey, you out there watching this, are you subscribed to the Landlocked Warlocks? No? Why not? You should be. Just move your little hand down below wherever you're watching this. If it's on a phone, you're going to scroll down and tap. If it's on a computer, you're going to move your mouse down. You see Brad is demonstrating proper mouse usage right now. So go subscribe to the Landlocked Warlocks, because we're awesome and we're doing awesome stuff, and we're doing a lot more awesome stuff in the future.
Including the very near future. So hit that bell so you don't miss the awesome stuff that's coming up today, which I'm super excited about.
Smash that like button and hit the bell. So now we're going to enter a segment of the show that we call the catch up. I don't have music, but imagine some lounge music playing right now, just hanging out. Yeah, a little girl from Ipanema over the elevator. Anyway, so what do you guys been up to? What do you got going on?
Well, I was super busy today working on something that we're going to talk about later, I think, during our next show. So that's what I've been doing.
Are we not going to announce it at all on this show?
Oh, I thought I don't know. We can.
Oh, I was confused. Stay tuned. Special Casual Friday Theater special announcement during the show. Let me just take that off the agenda so I don't accidentally do it.
This week I had the opportunity
casual. We're always casual.
Keeping it casual. Rich from Renegade Rolls and I had a awesome conversation. That went up yesterday. We got some explosive creation under our belts. That's going to hit Monday. There's a lot of interviews on the calendar. Some very interesting stuff. A lot of my my phone is now like that world clock from the old newsroom because I'm talking to people in every time zone, it seems, on the planet, and that's always interesting. And yeah, I am excited for Monster Week is coming, and I'm working with some cool people with some cool stuff. No
Speaking of
spoilers.
Monster Week, I was working on my Monster Week video about how to run a dragon as a big bad evil guy. And woof, this is the most work I think I probably ever put into a video. And it's not even close to my longest video, but I really wanted to make sure this one popped. Also on Sunday, I've got a video coming out about how to make great NPCs. And coming up in 59 minutes, we're gonna do a Mystery Science Theater kind of thing with some classic D&D material. I'm pretty excited about that. But also, do you guys mind if I do a quick show and tell?
Do it. Hit the button.
I wanted to actually do a visual show and tell. I have this photo randomizer on my computer desktop, and it's it goes through like all my thousands of photos from my whole life, and it put up a picture earlier today. I was like, oh yeah, and I completely forgot about this. A couple years ago, I was in Dallas, as people tend to be sometimes. They find themselves in Dallas, and I was there with my son, and I took him. Yes, thank you. I took him to the National Video Game Museum, which is in North Dallas. And in the National Video Game Museum, they have I found this Dungeons and Dragons Hero Potion of Power, which is some other energy drink with a label sticker put on top of it. I didn't buy this. I thought about buying it, but I haven't had an energy drink in a long, long time, and I really don't want to break that streak. So there was that. But then also, in the this is relevant. Also, in the National Video Game Museum, there is a Dragon's Lair exhibit.
Nice.
Which you see, it's got a Dragon's Lair hat, Dragon's Lair board game, and even a working Dragon's Lair. This is my son. Can you hear it?
No.
Looks dope though.
I love that game when I was a kid.
He definitely didn't get it. It's just like burp 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 burp. You move the joystick at the wrong time. It's like nope.
Yeah, he probably was assuming, like you would after playing modern video games, that joystick's going to tell your knight where to go, right?
The joystick does something, but aha. That's the secret of Dragon's Lair. The joystick only does some stuff every once in a while.
It's basic. It's what was the handheld game Simon, where you had to like yeah
because it's actually it's a laser disc. The video game is just a laser disc with hundreds of little cinematics, and so you press then there's just a timer in there. It's like at this time during the cinematic, you press it this way, cue the next cinematic, and so.
And if you don't, then it cues a different cinematic where you die.
Yeah, and man, that blew our minds in the 80s. It was really awesome. Did. It was awesome.
I pumped all sorts of quarters into that machine when I was a kid.
Yeah. You can get it for mobile now, but for the dumbed down younger generation, they highlight the button on the screen. Like if it's like you go left, it's like when you go left, it lights up to press it. And it's like, this is cheating. Now I'm just watching the buttons and tapping them when they light up, which doesn't really feel like I'm playing the game. Anyway, that was Jim's video game.
That was Jim's. Back in my day,
video games were on laser discs, and they were shitty, and we loved it.
They were hard.
Welcome to Jim's lawn. Get off.
There are you kids today with your electric cars. Okay. So coming up next, man, we're really rocking through everything. Coming up next, we a few weeks ago on the show we talked about this thing, Godfall, which is a new actual play that features Pathfinder. And you can see there Matt Mercer in some kind of quasi-futuristic vest that he's wearing. Reggie Watts, I don't know who that dude is, but you probably also saw Deborah Ann Wool at the table, Felicia Day there on the right. It's an all-star cast benefiting Extra Life. Well, this just came out today. I just discovered this about 10 minutes before the show for the show broadcast. So I watched it at 15x speed. I watched the whole thing. It was it's good. There's some good tender moments.
Voice acting is very high pitched. I don't know. It's a little hard to follow.
They need to focus on clarity a little more when they speak, I think. Anyway, do you guys have any thoughts on this? Are you excited to watch it, or what do you think about them using Pathfinder for a huge charity actual play? It's kind of ballsy to do a charity actual play and not use the most popular system on the planet, right?
Well, I think what this says to me is, at this point, these celebrities are bigger than D&D. So I think the message I'm getting is these people are more popular in the community than the game itself. So we could run any game we want to, but with these faces on it, people are going to watch.
You have to give credit to Geek and Sundry for some portion of the modern TTRPG era, right? Like, I don't know how much of that pie slice they get credit for, but it is more than nothing, because without them we wouldn't have Critical Role. Without Critical Role we wouldn't have the D&D renaissance that we are experiencing now. That being said, it's very interesting to me how Pathfinder is always talked about how crunchy it is, which it is. Don't get me wrong, and that's really enjoyable. But like Paizo's bread and butter for a very long time was adventure paths. Like they make beautiful railroads. I mean, it's a little railroady, but like 5-6 book arcs, very well designed and crafted and evocative, and characters and plot points. And I don't hear people talk about that really at all anymore. Like back in my day, I used to think of Pathfinder as the AP company, the Adventure Path company, not actual play. And now it's just like, do you like more rules? You'll like, yeah, he's out. He's out, and so are we. Peace. The so I think Pathfinder got pigeonholed a little bit, maybe by a very vocal fan base at a very chaotic time. Yeah, they do cool stuff.
Yeah, I think that's true too. I haven't really thought about it that way, but if I like rewind my brain back to 10 years ago, like that was definitely my take, right? Is like, whether you want to play Pathfinder or not, their adventure paths are great. And like we talked about earlier, once you understand the math of a system, you can swap out, right? You can run 5e adventure paths with Shadow Dark. You can run Pathfinder adventure paths with 5e, whatever. Like you can mix and match that stuff once you know what you're doing. And I definitely thought, like exactly like Ryan was just explaining, like that's what Paizo's really good at. And then 5e came out, and the community turned into this whole like, crunch versus not crunchy enough, and all these debates about why Pathfinder was better. Than Pathfinder 2 came out, and like the buzz about Pathfinder really switched from that these people make great adventures to this is the crunchy system. This is the system that if you get too close to people online talking about system design, some Pathfinder guy is going to jump in the chat and give you a lesson, and I think the fan base kind of tainted the conversation around Pathfinder. I hadn't thought about that until I just put all that together right as Ryan was talking. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe that's a hot take, though. I don't know.
We're both crazy then, because yeah, I mean, I played Oh boy, I played Abomination Vault most recently, and it was awesome. And there's a 5e version. You know, there was not super long ago. Paizo came out with a couple 5e versions of their Pathfinder coded adventures, which one belies the fact that you can do that maybe kind of easily. But two, that was like, oh, that's the death knell for Paizo. Paizo's giving up the system wars or whatever, and then the rest is history. Now, Pathfinder 2 is maybe the most popular thing. Um, Bob said otherwise very recently, but he's only looking at one bucket. It is I still say it's the second biggest name out there, and for good reason. Even if you don't want to crunch your system, hey, take a look at one of their adventure paths, because they do really cool adventure design and monster design and trap design and just the maps. Yeah, Paizo's bringing the heat. I'm almost surprised that there aren't more actual plays using Pathfinder material.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too is that if you want similar adventure design, Roll for Combat. They continue that same style that Paizo does. Roll for Combat is a third party creator who does both Pathfinder and 5e, and I think they're spreading rumors about maybe doing Shadow Dark in the future. Roll for Combat, of course, Mark Seifer, who I've interviewed on my channel. I think Ryan, you have interviewed him too.
Great dude.
Yeah, he's a great designer, great guy, super smart. So he helped design Pathfinder 2. Now he works for Roll for Combat, and they put out adventure paths in that very Paizo style, very thorough, very well laid out, and almost everything they do is both for Pathfinder 2 and 5e. So if you don't want to have to convert, you can check out Roll for Combat stuff. And it has that very thorough, well laid out, lots of great art, really interesting design. They do good stuff.
And like a focus on a theme with them. It's like, I mean, I'm always partial to, like, I always flip to the monsters. that's my secret. But yeah, their Battle Zoo stuff is always like, here are 100 awesome ooze things that I would have never thought of in the first place. I'm like, damn, they're doing cool stuff. So yeah, shout out to the team over there.
Yeah.
All right, so we ready to move on? Show is cooking today. So the next thing on the topic to talk about is I just discovered this Kickstarter for Soloborg. And of course they had an insanely low pledge goal that they have broken through. Well, it is Soloborg, rules for playing Morkborg on your own. And let's see.
Solo does mean one.
I was about to say.
This says it's intending to be delivered spring 2026. One big caveat here is that in their FAQ they say that it is not written. So just bear that in mind. If you are going to, buyer beware. If you give these people money, you may not ever get the product that you pay them for. But that's just how Kickstarter works. I have a lot more confidence in projects that are complete, except for like art or something, except for shipping and handling, those kind of overhead costs. But one reason I wanted to talk about this is that I always like to mention my favorite part of Morkborg. Because I think everyone should steal this rule for all TTRPGs, and that is in Morkborg, when you have a kind of random encounter, it's like a random bad thing die, and the party gets to choose which die they roll for that every day when they adventure. They can roll a d4 for something brutal. They can roll a d10 for something mid, roll a d20 for something easy. And I just love that idea of asking the players, how hard do you want this travel to be? Like, how hard do you want this travel segment to be? And they can say, like, let's make it tough and give them a D4 to roll for random encounters. Or if they don't want any combats, like, why can't you ask your players if they want combat or not? Brad was just telling us a few weeks ago or a couple months ago about his player and friend who called and said, hey, I had a bad day. I need to kill some monsters. That should be okay. that should be common behavior. That give the players more to collaborate by letting them tell you how hard they want the campaign or this segment of the campaign to be. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a cool idea. I like that. And that again gives them some say so and some influence over the campaign. And just thinking, like my first thought was if you're running Shadow Dark, right, the XP for treasure, right? So you could correlate whatever die you're rolling. The smaller the die, the more likely the random encounter, and then the greater the treasure is going to be, right? So you could correlate that. Wouldn't take much to have like make yourself some D20 charts with some random treasure. Have a random treasure chart for your D4, random treasure chart for your D6, right? Kind of corresponding. So that way it's all randomly generated. But there's appropriate levels of treasure for how difficult the players want it to get, and then there's extra incentive to choose the higher difficulty setting, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. More on that
Mm-hmm.
later. I really like Morkborg for centering so many games that present players with the opportunities to optimize away all of the fun. Right? It seems like so often the incentive structure is like, how do I avoid playing this game as much as I can? Where it's like the premise of Morkboard is like, it's bad, you're doomed. Go out in a glorious, violent, dark blaze of glory. Yeah. Oh, that's right. That's why we started doing this. That's the fun part. Yeah, cool. Let's put the focus on that. Yeah. Do you want a nothing little easy encounter, or do you want to play in zombie mode until the bad guys are gonna keep coming until you're dead? Like, yeah, let's go hard. Let's see how far we can push this thing. Let's ride this until the wheels come off. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's my style. Let's do it.
yeah, and like I think we shifted towards that during second and third edition, right? Where like you started doing character builds. Like I want a tank character, and I want a DPS character. But like you said, when you do that, the incentive is to be creative with the pieces. It's like playing Legos with your D&D character, right? You're taking these building blocks, snapping them together to make, how high can I make my armor class? But like you're saying, Ryan, when you do that, it kind of sucks the fun out of it, because then if I have a character that can never get hit, right? Where's the danger? Where's the risk? Right? If I have a character that can you know do multiple smites a turn and just go Nova on a monster, and we're just nuking everything we come in contact with, is that really challenging? Is that really fun? Conversely, you have a game like Shadow Dark, who with the XP for treasure and the carousing system, it's risk for reward, right? Stay in the dungeon longer, try to get more treasure. How many hit points do we have left? We can push one more room, two more rooms, right? And then once you get out of the dungeon, let's gamble that treasure on the carousing chart to see if we can get more experience, right? The game incentivizes risk taking, and that I think makes for a more exciting game.
I understand the impulse to be precious with your character. You've made a special little boy and poured your love and heart into his backstory, or girl, no judgments, or non-binary. But the disposability of the player character is the thing that makes them the most different from you, the player. When the game piece dies, you don't, and you can make a new one. And hey, that's a lot of fun. Do you really love character creation? Cool. How about you do it more than once a campaign?
Yeah, and the nice thing about Morkborg is that it takes place during the end of days. So nobody's going to make it out alive. And that's kind of the whole point. It's like, can you do something heroic before the world ends, or can you go rob the the go rob the vault before the world end, but you're gonna die. Hemingway said all true stories end in death, right? And Morkborg really leans into that.
Yeah. Well, and Morkborg was originally based on a skirmish game. Like the setting for Morkborg was designed for a skirmish battle game. And so again, you're incentivizing the type of play you want, because as a wargamer, I've got this pile of gray plastic, this big old pile of like miniatures that I can, kit bash into characters. And I want an excuse to like put these characters together, get them painted up, get them on the table, watch them die so I can make more, right? It gets you, it encourages you to dive deeper into your hobby, because the game is designed to, these characters don't survive this campaign. So then I'm going to start the next campaign with new characters, right? And it's I think what Ryan brings up here, and we're kind of exploring, is the idea of like, how do you make your game incentivize the style of play you want? And I think the classic D20 system that we've had since the end of second edition has really taken us away from that kind of design. And good indie design it brings that back.
Nice. Do either of you have much experience with solo gaming?
I don't.
You know what? No, but like in the last few months, I've been like, this is the thing I should do. Like, I've never considered it for myself, because like sitting down with a group of people who are my friends or who may very well quickly become my friends is such a central part of this hobby. Like the social aspect of this is like so near and dear to my heart. And I think really like secretly the best part of it all that we're afraid to talk about, because some men will do anything instead of going to therapy, including play D&D and expect whatever.
Hey
guys, try both. But yeah, it's a whole aspect of this hobby that I have not explored yet. That like seems like the lowest barrier to entry out of anything. You're not sinking tons of money into a mini painting studio, right? Or like terrain. And yeah, if nothing else, it's like dungeon master practice, right? Like, so no, but I'm looking forward to it. Brad, you said you didn't. Jim, have you done much of anything on the solo side?
I've only when they came out with Kelsey Diggum put out Solo Dark last year as a little free rule supplement. I downloaded it and I ran through a couple of scenarios just like so I could make a video about it, and I didn't really like it. It's fine. But yeah, there's I missed the social aspect of just like, okay, I guess that's what happens. I'll write down that's what happened. But I've always been really curious about 1,000-Year-Old Vampire. I was listening to a podcast the other day where they mentioned it, and I was like, oh yeah, and I went to go look, and it was sold out right then. Which, with all the trade stuff, who knows if it will be back in stock, but I've always heard great things about 1,000-Year-Old Vampire. And so I've always wanted to try that one.
Yeah, there are games that are built for it, and I imagine, I mean, no shade on Shadow Dark, everything Kelsey touches is gold, but a game that is like solo play first to me seems more likely to be interesting and entertaining than like, oh, here's a hack to play this game without friends. Feels a little less likely, a little less likely to provide an entertaining experience. But like Ironsworn is one that's really appealing to me. That seems to like, I'm a table guy, so like I've investigated a lot of these for tables and stuff. But there's some cool stuff out there. Mythic the Games emulator is a I see that come up a lot. I can't speak to it personally, but John Double Crit Fail was talking about that.
Yeah, I did some research into that. It's sort of like a math, like an algorithm, a manual algorithm to convert any TTRPG into something you can play by yourself, which I think Kelsey Dion's Solo Dark rules were fantastic, because it's basically just like, if you don't know what happens, here's how to run an oracle. And it's like 3 pages, and it perfectly explains. Like, I was able to run through what would have been probably 2 hours of a session with other people in probably 20 minutes by myself, just using the dice and using the oracle with a character that I quickly rolled up in Shadow Dark. But yeah, 1,000 Year Vampire. I want to try that one. Busy chart of how likely is this result in the floating corresponding D100 table? Right. Yeah. So moving on to the last topic before we get to our roundtable discussion. That there was just I got an email the other day that D&D Beyond's maps now has stickers. And I don't think that stickers are really amazing, but I just wanted to highlight this because for so long I was so curious why they had sigil and maps. For like 2 years I've been asking myself, why are they running both of these huge systems and promoting maps and promoting sigil? Why do they have these two competing systems? We now have answers to all those questions, which is a weight off my shoulders because I was so damn curious. Why, if sigil was the next big thing, they kept releasing new map stuff like every 2 weeks. Like in just a couple years, maps is pretty much caught up to Roll20. It still doesn't have all the bells and whistles, but it's very close. And, we have an answer now because there were two competing teams. It was totally like Macintosh versus Apple at old Apple. They really were two competing teams who didn't like each other. And that's crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought I missed something. The answer was they didn't know each other existed until they did, and then they were enemies. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, tinfoil hat time. It's like somebody running maps like has the ear of somebody upstairs, and they're like, "No, ours is better. Ours is better. Ours is better." And then somebody upstairs is like, "Oh, pull the plug on sigil because I like this guy's maps thing." I want the dirt. I want to know. What went down. There's got to be a dramatic story here, some like soap opera esque.
Yeah,
Well, give us that ball and run with it. There were clearly people up top that did not know what sigil was and thought it was a video game. So in like the product pitch, they must have really gone out of their way to differentiate it from the VTT that was already well under development. And then fast forward a couple of years and they're like, this is not a video game. What are we doing here? You're out. Also, remember color forms? I mean, I know that the word is stickers, but this makes me think of color forms.
Huh.
Man, we're mining all the nostalgia today.
Just you wait.
I imagine that they sold maps to the brass by saying, we can get it out quickly and it will integrate with sigil someday. Who knows? Who knows what happened?
All these assets were 3D a few weeks ago.
Could
they just squished them and
we'll probably find out in a couple of years after some NDAs expire, and then the whole story will come out, and then I'll make a video about it, and nobody will watch that video because nobody cares about D&D historical videos, but I do, so I'm going to keep making them.
I like your historical videos.
Thank you for the 17 of you out there that watch.
There are dozens of us.
Apparently, it's much more fun to explore the theoretical drama of what's going on now than it is to actually watch a history video that actually tells you what the drama was 10 years from now.
Yeah. Like my video about the failure of the free ad-supported streaming channel. Remember that? What a big deal that was when it came out? And now you don't hear about it anymore. I made a video about it, and I was super proud of that video. Nobody cared, though. Because nobody was like, what? Fast channel? Exactly. You never heard of it. Why? Why is there this huge thing they spend millions of dollars on that nobody's heard of? What are they doing?
I learned about it from your video. Like, I didn't know that was. I was like, wait, how did I not hear about this at all? Because I'm like, yeah, there it is. Hey, gang, I'm pretty plugged in. I don't claim to know everything, but like, I am paying attention and open to I'm on a news show about this thing. What the hell?
All right. So moving on to our main topic of the show, we're going to talk about levity. We're going to talk about humor. We're going to talk about balancing the dark moments and the light moments in your TTRPG game. How do you do it? What do you like? What do you prefer? How do you find the best ways are to balance those low moments with high moments? Chat, we want you to get involved and let us know your thoughts too. Sly Flourish talks about upbeats and downbeats in his games, and I think this peaks, upbeats, downbeats, peaks and valleys, however you want to look at it. Sessions should be a roller coaster, and when you have those downbeats of like a tough combat and everyone's low on resources, it's nice to balance that with an upward beat of finding a safe haven to rest, finding loot. Because too many downbeats really great on a character. I was playing in a game a couple years ago where we were fighting an archdruid. We were only level 6 against an archdruid, and she kicked our asses. We had to run. Because an archdruid can just get free hit points every single turn when they Archdruid has as many wild shapes as they want, right? Anyway, so kicked our ass. We ran. It was like for 2 sessions. We ran, but this Archdruid pursued us as a hawk, as a tiger, as all these different things. So for like 2 sessions, we couldn't rest. We were all so mad at the Dungeon Master by the end of those 2 sessions that at the beginning of the next session, he said, she goes away. That was the upbeat we needed because we were about to mutiny. Because it wasn't fun. We were just getting our butts kicked and we couldn't get away. We couldn't do anything right. So the beats went too far down. And fortunately, we have a good dungeon master who recognized that and said, okay, we need to swing this back to an upbeat. So I don't know. Opening thoughts, guys?
Yeah, my players do a great job of bringing the comic relief. They're mostly pretty good about like following my lead. Like when I'm like describing a dark scene and they're supposed to be role playing that they're scared. They do a decent job of that, and I also think it's because death is still on the table in our combats. But then other times they're a bunch of jokesters, so there's always something funny. Like we're doing this grim dark adventure, and they make a deal with this vampire that has a rivalry with this other with a lich or something, but they need to smuggle the vampire out of town. So they put the vampire in his coffin, and the Warforge walks across the bottom of the ocean to an island. Basically, carries the body of the vampire to get away from the. They came up with this like crazy elaborate scheme of how they're gonna carry the body in the coffin across the bay or whatever it was. But yeah, they come up with wacky ideas, and that that they provide a lot of their own upbeats.
Yeah, I only prepare downbeats, and then I hit them when it hurts. Because they'll make their own upbeats. No, as a departure for the landlocked warlocks, let's talk about levity. I really had a hard time with this early on in my dungeon master career because I would put a lot of effort into setting a scene and like try to make stakes feel real and immerse my players, and then someone would crack a joke and it would feel like that all would just like crumble away to dust in my hands. I have since learned that that's a comedy, at least for the people I tend to gravitate towards and hang out with, is a pressure release valve. It's a coping mechanism, right? Like cultures have been built upon this. I'm from a couple of them. The idea of like, I have made the players uncomfortable makes them more likely to crack a joke. And it means that it's working. It's not a bad thing. And that it doesn't ruin, like we can still have serious stuff going on and be cracking jokes at the same time. Those things can operate in this weird storytelling engine that we're operating. and it's beautiful the way, like, I don't know, some of my favorite comedians crush serious roles when they take them on, right? That there's a lot of overlap there that is often mistaken as duality. They're a lot closer together. Laughing and crying, if you watch somebody on mute, it's hard to distinguish what they're doing.
Yeah, first, sorry, there's somebody, my neighbors decided right now is the best time to mow their lawn, so that's happening if you can hear it. Anyway, Paranoia, that is a game that if it does not have levity, it's just cruelty. What's that saying? Honesty without kindness is brutality. Well, Paranoia is brutality, so you have to have some levity. I'm a firm believer in leaning into silly NPC voices. Yeah, I'm a firm believer in NPC comic relief characters as an upbeat in their own. The goofy goblin pet that the party has can crack a joke after that tough combat. And that's always a good time to crack a joke, is right after a downbeat. All right, here's a little story. So I was running Lost Mine of Fandelver a few years ago, and it was at the end, and they're fighting the Black Spider. It was the final battle, and the Black Spider turned invisible, flummoxed the party. They had no way to see invisibility. They were hosts. They were all pretty new players. They couldn't really think their way out of this problem. But one of the players goes, "Okay, I want to spend my action going Marco." And I was like, "Nah, come on." He goes, "No, for real." And I was like, "Okay, all right, you could roll a persuasion check, but you're pretty much going to need a natural 20. And he rolled the dice while I was saying that. And of course, as I said, natural 20, it landed on a natural 20, right? So I was like, God damn it. But you got to lean into it. You got to lean that you never, ever lean away from the fun, right? It doesn't matter what you had planned. You never lean away from the fun. So I said, okay, you say Marco, and he goes, Polo, damn it. Because you have to, right? You can't deny them. You can't deny them that moment. And don't ever have them roll for something if you're not prepared for the natural 20 that's going to come.
Well, but here's the thing, though, right? Like, I just did a video on ruling the rule of cool, which I thought was fantastic, and not that many people watched it, but whatever. But mechanically, right? They essentially made a skill check and they got a nat 20, right? If he had said, if you had said, no, that Marco Polo thing's not going to work, what do you really do? And he said, okay, I'm going to make a perception check and see if I hear anything. And then he rolls a nat 20 on the perception check, right? The outcome would have been essentially the same.
Right.
Mechanically, it's the same, right? He rolled the dice, he got a nat 20. But the Marco Polo bit is something that's going to be far more memorable than the time that you made a perception check and heard the Black Spider hiding behind the crate.
Right.
You wouldn't be telling that story years later.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why you lean into the fun, because and that's what my whole video is about, is like ways to make it mechanically fair, right? Like you did, Jim. Like you made it mechanically fair. Roll a persuasion check, right? Which wouldn't have been any different than a perception check or an insight check. Would have been with some other reasonable explanation. Like I would pick up a bag of flour and throw it in the direction.
Yeah, Nacho, we talked about Crawford, Perkins, and Chris Cow leaving at the top of the show. A lot of crap happened. The wheel is turning. The wheel is turning. Welcome
to the churn, boys. Welcome to the churn.
The future of D&D is unknown. It is uncertain. Whoa, that's real loud. Sorry.
Yeah, that's what's actually outside Jim's window, is the wheel.
Literally right outside my window.
The wheel of progress. The wheel is grinding up souls as everybody leaves WotC, and it's right outside Jim's window.
Yeah, there. Okay, so I'm the host of this show now. Where's the Ryan Corner graphic? Hold on. All right, everyone who's joining us, please continue to stay on Landlocked Warlocks, because we are doing something dope in about 20 minutes.
Count
you
down.
Don't want to miss it. Counting down. So subscribe, gently caress that bell icon so that it tells you when this is what happens when I like Jim speaking much better than miming. But yeah,
Well,
if you
you
let
can
them have that laugh, okay, if you let them have that
just
laugh
allowed. Sorry.
moment, you can still bring it back. And one of my favorite ways to do that, the player announces their harebrained scheme. All right, cool. There's a 5% chance it works. However, if you fail at this, and you're much more likely to fail than succeed, the consequences are going to be bad. Yes, you can try to do the stupid thing. And sure, you can get a nat 20 on it and we'll all laugh about it and it'll be incredible and you'll feel awesome. But I am going to burn your house to the ground if you don't make this DC. Think carefully about what you're going to do next. And now we're all having fun.
Yeah. It's
Nacho, I was trying to cast "Shut the hell up" on the guy mowing his lawn outside.
He needs a wand. He doesn't have a wand.
It's almost like a good game would have a mechanic built in for when you dare to do something crazy, right?
All right, Brad, let's do it. Jim has been silenced. We've teased it long enough. Tell the world what's happening. What else is getting announced today, other than our awesome Mystery Science Theater 3K nostalgia packed romp?
So Jim, Ryan, and I have cooked up a crazy little one-page game called You Dare, which stands for Universal Dice Rolling. Jim just keeps turning the lawnmower on in the background. Universal D8 Rolling Engine. You Dare. It's an awesome little one-page game. We just strip down basic mechanics, and it's going to be free to download next week.
Oh, he left. We lost him.
I think he just bailed because once he turned his mic on, he couldn't get off. I don't know what's going on there.
He'll be back hopefully in 15 or 20 minutes because he's hosting the next show too.
Yeah, hopefully the guy's done with his yard when we start the next show. Jeez.
So we set out / like stumbled upon. Hey, he's back.
Sorry.
We have created the most universalist core game system we could come up with, and I think have built in a very clever character development advancement system at the same time. He's gone to murder his neighbor. They're all going to die. Inspired by our playthrough of Jim's Mimic Cafe and a modified version of Roll for Shoes. We talked about that for a few weeks and cooked up a one-pager that, what's the count now? It's like 28 pages long, I think. Mission creep.
If you include all the sample characters, yeah, it's over 30 pages. There's like what is it, like 36 sample characters to choose from across 9 different genres. So the concept is you can build a setting by picking 2 genres and smashing them together. So like you take grimdark and classic fantasy, and that gives you a dungeon crawler setting, right? And so you go to the character sample characters, and you've got 4 classic fantasy characters to choose from. You got 4 grimdark characters to choose from. Now you've got 8 characters that fit the theme of the game you want to run. And there's cyberpunk and space crew and superheroes in there as well. So you can mix and match however you want. If you want to do like sci-fi horror, you can take space crew and the mythos characters, and that gives you 8 characters that are going to fit a sci-fi horror game, right? So a lot of the heavy lifting is done just by the sample character design, and you just grab 2 sets of 4 characters, smash them together. Your players choose from those 8 characters, and you play whatever kind of adventure you want to play.
But yeah, and also the point is those are just sample character sheets, because the point of it is the first word is universal. You can use this one-page rule set to essentially run literally anything. You can pretty much run just about anything. I'd be really curious to find somebody who uses it to run something and it fails, because I think you can use it to run anything. And so Mike wants to know when next week. Probably about early to mid next week. Where it is currently just on Drive Through RPG, but we might also be putting it up on Itch. We're going to talk about that. But definitely look on Landlocked Warlocks when it's live. We'll put up a YouTube post with a link to go get it, and we'll definitely talk about it on the show next week. Like, we'll show you the rules and stuff next week on the show.
Yeah, and it feels like we took all that we learned from the one-page one-shot club of like, oh, if you get rid of everything else that's in the way of the game, then you end up with this like little kernel that's like the beating heart of the game. And then you can slowly add stuff to it over time, but like clearing off all the cruff and getting to that little heart of, okay, we need the dice to tell us if this works or not. And that's all that might be all we is that all we need? I think that's all we need, guys. And a lot of levity and some serious stuff can go down just with that. I've been really appreciating more and more a system that just gets out of the way and does its job.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and that's one of the things, like you said, we learned about with the one-page one-shot club, like completely zany stuff, like that Seagulls game we played, right? It was just ridiculously hilarious. But then there was the sexy battle wizards that actually was that the one that got pretty dark?
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I died.
and Jim's character was on a murderous revenge plot.
Oh, yep. Yeah. So yeah, we really wanted to strip away everything that wasn't the fun, wasn't the essence of the game. And this one, it's all about building skills. It's all about discovering your character as you play, because there's a system in the game, which is the one thing we basically stole directly from Roll for Shoes, is that you roll the dice, and if you roll the highest number, you get to create a new skill. And so you build your character. When we played Mimic Cafe, that's what it was like. Ryan didn't know he was going to be like a knife guy until he did knives and did good at it. So he was like, okay, this is what I'm good at now. So now I'm a knife guy.
Yep.
I love discovering a character, and I love like experience points are such an abstract thing, and then you go and you spend them mechanically, whereas like you did a thing, now you know how to do it good.
Yep. And I was playing around with the math. I was rolling dice today as I was having my lunch, and and just seeing how the math works out. And it's I was creating a new skill like every 4 or 5 dice rolls, right? Because of the way the experience point system works, and you can spend your experience points to boost your rolls, and so you can level up, right? Get a new skill fairly quickly in the game, which, like Ryan and Jim are saying, helps you discover your character. And for those people who aren't confident in that ability, right, to discover their character and kind of want to plan, that's what the character sheets are for, right? So you can start with a totally blank character sheet and just write down a couple things you want to be good at, or you can, pick an archetype from one of the character sheet pack and kind of use that as a go by.
And I really like I'm almost afraid to talk about it because it's implicit, not explicit, but like built into the system is if you are attempting things that aren't on your character sheet, your character is more likely to grow. By pushing the button that you're good at, you're more likely to succeed and you're less likely to advance. Mm-hmm. And that is brilliant to me. That's maybe my favorite part of the whole thing.
Yeah, because your chances of creating this new skill is much higher when you try something you're not good at, right? That was the other thing when I was rolling dice and playing around with the math earlier today. I was like, this really works. And I ran into exactly what Ryan just described, is like the more you try to do stuff you're not good at, the more likely you are to build up experience points. And then when you really in the clutch and you want to, you got enough experience points to just take the thing you are good at and use that to level it up, right? It 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 encourages the style of play that you want players to do. Try the zany stuff, try the weird stuff, but then when it really counts, bring out the big guns and solve the scene, right?
Yeah, the any way to incentivize, like, or at least lessen the blow of embracing failure. Interesting, yes.
So,
Yeah, similar in some ways, but much more. Again, one pager, very
one
very
page,
simple,
very
but
very streamlined.
elegant, elegant.
Yeah, it's a fun game. I think obviously we're going to use it for our one-page one-shot club, but I think you can have a lot of fun with it. Check it out, and we'll obviously we'll give you all the links and all that sort of stuff when it's live on Drive Through RPG.
It's coming soon. I think we're going to talk about it in a little bit because we should wrap this up and refill our cups because, ladies and gentlemen, we are having the inaugural edition of Casual Friday Theater. So come back 4:30, 10 minutes less. Don't dawdle. It's going to be incredible.
100%. This is Jim's best idea yet.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, let's get out of it. Let's wrap this up. You watching, we'll see you back here in 8.5 minutes. If the guy is still mowing his lawn, I'm going to freak the F out, but hopefully that's got 8 minutes to wrap up. And so thanks for watching. Come back here. We're going to have a lot of fun. We'll see you. Bye.
Bye.